Yes, that needs to be fixed. Okay, well, let's talk about just kind of moving through a little bit more the rogue class identity. Okay, so this is the rogue came up, and this is one of the big concerns, at least I've had, and we've talked about on the show too, is that rogue. I mentioned priest in the past too, but rogue in particular is going to take a huge hit, during this Hall of Fame reset, as well as just the 2017 reset, right? And it basically came up, and their answer was, they're asking about what the identity for the rogue is, and their answer was basically a continuation of what it is right now, which is it's going to be a little bit of death rattle. It's going to be tricks. I love how they call it tricks. That's like the funniest thing. And then maybe stealth, being the other thing. And
tricks.
Yeah, I've been calling it tricks. Yeah, tricks are for kids, guys. What do you guys think of that? Dr. J, any thoughts?
I kind of wish they would go with one direction in this. I'm a big fan of having identity in classes, and it seems like they're all over the place. Like there's this stealth identity over here, there's this death rattle identity over here, there's this draw your whole deck turn and with auctioneer identity over here. There's this, we have this plan to make your weapon hero power useful, but we haven't done anything for this yet. Identity over here. I wish they would I understand where you don't want rogue to always be this. You don't want rogue to always be the combo class. You don't want rogue. Maybe you want to give rogue a tempo version, or maybe you want to give rogue an aggro version. So I see where they're going with this, but I really wish they would kind of nail it on the head and figure out what they want to do.
Yeah, I agree with you too, and them focusing on the trick, the trickster aspect of it really concerns me, because the trickster aspect, I think in theory it's fine, and I think it is thematically consistent with the rogue, but the way they're doing it is not true pickpocketing. You're not stealing cards from your opponent. You're actually just deriving value. It's card draw. That's all it is. And the rogue suffers greatly tempo-wise and health-wise when having to make those type of plays. So, how do they even implement these things, without, they're going to have super crazy powerful battle cry type of abilities, like Shadow, I'm talking things like Shadowcaster and then like Burgle and Swashbuckler. Like, what are you going to do to make that better? Because they tried Ethereal Peddler. Nobody uses that because it's too slow. It doesn't matter.
The thing is, the cards. The thing is, that archetype might actually just become viable by pushing. Because Shaku is a great example of a card that, was obviously good. It was obviously good enough. The thing is, what they haven't done. We have Undercity Huckster, we have Swashbuckler, we have Shaku the Collector, we've got Ethereal Peddler, we've got Burgle, which is of course the worst of all. But if you remember, Burgle was also the first, which explains why it was so bad. It was like, let's probe the mechanic and see how broken it is. Turns out it's shit. All right, let's slap it for free on 1/1 on curve. Right? They tried cut purse with coins. It didn't work out because it was too restrictive. Sure, let's give Undercity Huckster card advantage straight up. So they've been exploring the design space for the tricks for a while now, and now they finally have a good picture of it, and it's not a good one. The picture is these cards don't work very well. They're okay, but they're not. They're not going to be a deck, the center of a deck, until we push it. And I think that's if they keep pushing it, that archetype is going to be fine. It's going to be fine by virtue of how uncertain everything is. You'll have no clue what the rogues got. I'm not saying it's healthy for the game. I'm saying that shit is going to be good if it gets pushed. And I have no doubt that they'll keep pushing it. It just seems like they're lining themselves up to try to make a Burgle rogue of sorts.
That is things I've complained about, with Kabbalist Tome and things. I don't want to play against a deck where I have completely no idea what he has in his deck.
Yeah,
I agree with you, man. I agree. It's just that if that's an identity rogues will get, it's like Mind Vision, Thought Steal, and Mind Games, right? Let's just look back at those cards for Priest and think just how bad those cards are. Aside from Thought Steal and a value matchup, those cards are just not good. Rogue might get tools like these that are a bit better because they come onto bodies, right? Huckster is on a body, Swashbuckler is on a body. Same thing for Shaku. All these cards come in with a sort of card advantage, kind of. It's not always going to be amazing cards that you get, but on average, you'll get something doable. And if at some point rogues get a way to convert those cards into something good, right? Like think of it as what's the name of the card? Like Elise Starseeker. But instead of converting cards into legendaries, it just turns non-rogue cards into stuff. So suddenly you get like a really good deck out of a janky mechanic. They could do a lot with that stuff.
I get that. Dr. J, what do you think, man?
I'm not excited for that mechanic. I'm not a huge fan of that mechanic. I think it's fun. I think it's good for casual players that it's a mechanic. I really enjoy the idea of like getting these random cards. But from a competitive standpoint, it's just so difficult to play around the whole class set of cards. And then if they're just constantly taking random stuff, I don't really know. I can't play around it. So for instance, Shaku was like, for instance, I was playing one game in my prelims, and Shaku gave me Public Defender against Pirate Warrior. I was like, well, I just win this game. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
and I don't like that aspect.
See, that's the thing. It's like it's not really trickster. They classified it as tricks and outsmarting your opponent, but it's not any of those things. Like you're not outsmarting anything. You just get cards, and if it's the right, you know what I mean.
I willed the Public Defender. That was the outsmarting.
Yeah, you willed it.
No, I agree with you guys. Like it's not outsmarting. Wrong. That's what they've not done, right? Like the aesthetic. So the aesthetic says you're outsmarting your opponent. The looks of the play you make is, the fantasy, right? I'm a rogue and I'm doing, stealthy tricks to you and you don't know what's coming. That's outsmart. No, my hero's outsmarting you. But in reality, like the two players, like the rogue player is not outsmarting anyone. He's just not doing anything.
Thematically,
so the fantasy, but the fantasy is on point. Like it's absolutely on point. But I don't think the delivery is quite reflecting what the fantasy is supposed to do. So I don't know if they're going to rework the mechanic. It doesn't seem like they will. But if they ever add a card that, as I said, converts non-class cards to something else, suddenly, yes, that's a thing. Like they need to push some like safe value exchange for rogues to turn that quote-unquote uncertainty into something the opponent has to play around and knows is coming.
Yeah, and I agree if they want to make it viable, but I just think that it was something that I felt like should have been more on the fun side, and they're trying to make it viable, and that could lead to some issues later. I mean, the community always at least the competitive community always complains about just the randomness of it. So we'll have to see what happens there. So the last thing I'll point out is like a question I asked, which was basically about healing across classes. Given that Reno Jackson's gone, we don't have any heal bots obviously after that, at least not that we know of. So they answered that. They answered that in the form of there will be basically no neutral healing. I mean, they didn't say that definitively, but they pretty much hinted at no neutral healers, at least big ones. But I think they left open that class cards would still be healing. And they mentioned that the healing classes will get more heals and the armor class will get more armor. But they didn't say anything really about the non-healing classes and what happens there. So I'm hopeful that we'll still, maybe see some healing in Warlock, or I don't know, maybe even see some kind of weird bandaging or healing in Rogue or something like that. But if we don't, then that's a bummer. I mean, that's a pretty big bummer, even for Warlock. Like, there's so many cards that take so much health that, Warlocks right now cannot even use those cards, like Cho'Gall or, Fel Potion and things like that. I mean, we're just hurting ourselves constantly. And there's a point where it just gets to the point where we can't even play these cards. So thoughts on that? Healing. What are you hoping to see? What do you think that they're saying there?
So for healing, I don't mind there being class identity with healing. I think that's important to their lore. I think that's important to how the card game and classes are set up. So I don't mind if like warrior and mage are like the only ones that typically have access to like the armor effects, because I know mage has like the ice barrier.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with like maybe not giving rogue heal because it thematically doesn't make that much sense. I don't know World of Warcraft too much, but I know like you have paladins that heal, you have
some classes do, some don't, but right now every class does in WoW. So canon is pretty much out the window. Like, they used to have very defined class identity a long time ago, but they've thrown that out for the sake of fun. because it turned out that leveling as a warrior was a miserable experience since you couldn't heal, so you just died all the time, and I guess they thought it wasn't that fun. It's a change that came in much later as a result of a lot of complaining, which I think a lot of people liked. It took flavor away, but it also made the game more homogeneous, I guess, which kind of sucks. It took out class identity a lot, and I'm not sure if that's a positive or a negative.
Well,
it's hard to say.
It takes out class identity. Oh, okay. So for one, you can have class identity that doesn't involve very important basic mechanics to the game. And I think healing and health is a very basic mechanic that should not be isolated to certain classes. And some can do better, like you can heal better, but healing generally I think should be across the board. And you can even talk about WoW and thematically, right? Yeah, rogues, they don't heal, hunters generally don't heal and that sort of thing. But this isn't a team game. This is not like this is not a game where we group and stuff. This is a game where I play by myself like all the time, and I don't have anything in my backpack that can heal me or anything like that. It's different.
So I actually don't like. I'll be honest with you. I don't like the idea of every class healing in Hearthstone any more than I like it in WoW. I think it takes away a lot of the charm out of the class identity. If that means that a certain class has to have non-healing mitigation tools, I'm fine with that. I'm cool with rogues having spells or like a weapon that makes them immune while attacking. I'm cool with them having a weapon that's going to act as like a parry tool or whatever, as long as it's not literally called. I'm popping like if they have a card that reads something like like back alley potion or some shit, and it's like a 1 cost heal 6. Like that's a rogue card and it heals. Like I don't mind that as long as they don't make it some jank ass. Oh, I'm sitting here and just channeling the holy light on myself. Thank God. Ability.
Okay.
I think that's fine.
Okay. Yeah. What are your thoughts on heal, Dr. J?
I just kind of trying to get at it. I like from a competitive standpoint certain classes not having as much access to heal for the reason that, for instance, like in a matchup like Rogue versus Pirate Warrior, the Rogue has to be really careful what they can hit with their dagger. Yeah. So they may not necessarily want to take damage and they may make awkward plays. For instance, like an aggro Rogue, maybe I would send a deckhand in over putting my 1 dagger into a minion because I couldn't afford to take that 3 damage or I couldn't afford to take that 4 damage. So I think it can add some like interesting play in the sense of you have to think more about like where you take your damage and where you put your damage. But I can see where it's frustrating sometimes to where I think like this class like may physically have no chance. Like Miracle Rogue versus Pyro Warrior is probably one of the most polarizing matchups I think right now, just because they don't have that heal. So I think maybe if you can like, I don't know, I just not a huge fan of it across because I think classes should have specific weaknesses, but I can understand where heal is one of those, like you were saying, basic things that maybe all classes should have some sort of access to.
And it's only because there's 30 health in Hearthstone. I think if the health total was a little bit higher, I would actually feel more okay with a class not having any kind of a life restore that way. In one example where I think it's kind of nice in terms of just trying to problem solve and tech sometimes is even just like Shaman against like Warrior or just a super aggro deck, right? We've seen just more of the Jade Shamans add Jinyu as a way to just get a little bit of health, and it swings the matchup by a lot. So having that option, I think, has always been cool. It's an option that we've seen with Healbot in the past, and I feel like Healbot would work even better like right now, just given over time and what we've learned and how it affects the game. But it sounds like they don't, the era of Healbot's gone, and they don't want it to necessarily come back, at least from a neutral standpoint. So I'm just hoping that they continue to do something, at least in the classes specifically, so that we can get, we can have the ability to play some of the other cards, some of the control cards. All right. Well, we spent a lot of time on that. So why don't we...
The healing question is really good because I think, a class identity that I would like rogues to develop has more to do with crowd control, like the idea of gouging things. In World of Warcraft, they used to gouge, they used to sap, they used to do all sorts of disabling things without it being healing. And it actually translates into damage mitigation, in Hearthstone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Vanish would be good if it was playable.
I think Vanish at a cheaper cost would be interesting. Like, their mill would be more of an option. Actual resets mid-game, I think, is a very interesting scenario, especially for Rogue. So it's one thing to maybe consider, a 5 or maybe even 4. Even if it's just like some of the characters or some of the minions on the board, that'd be cool. But anyways, why don't we move on? And I don't know if we actually have time for topic of the week anymore, so maybe we'll move because we have so many Mekkatorques. But before we do, why don't we give a shout out to some of our patrons? For those of you that have never seen Valleytown, or maybe you don't watch us or listen to us every week, Valleytown is 100% funded by you guys and all of our patrons, and we actually have a Patreon set up at patreon.com/Valuetown. If you're watching the video, it'll be actually in the description. And we have a lot of patrons that, again, like support us and allow us to do these show every week. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do it. So I want to just spend at least a little bit of a moment each and every week to give a shout out to you guys. And big thanks to our legendary producers, Mike T, Lewis G, Dean P, and some of the others, William C, Gary D, David T, Jim G, Graham S, Zoxand, Michael V, and Morashti. Thank you so much for doing that. And of course, we still have made our Smilestone milestone. So what that means, and I think I've already warned Dr. J about what that means, is that we're going to have to give our best smile here for the next 20 seconds or so, but I forgot to bring up the song, so I need to actually get the song real quick.
20 seconds of smiling.
20 seconds of smiling. It's like, it's crazy how it seems like such a labor, but it's like, really, guys, we can't smile for 20 seconds?
Warm up the face muscles.
Exactly. Okay, I think I've got the song now, so all right. You guys ready? Let me start the intro song a little bit here. Here we go. Okay, so 20 seconds, guys, and those of you wondering what we're talking about, there's a goal actually on the Patreon page that once we reach it, then we're going to do this. Our next one is the laugh stone, so that's something that you guys might want to consider. Anyways, here we go. 20 seconds. Go. Okay, 20 seconds. Smilestone doesn't have to be silent the entire time, but for some reason we're always like really,
how are we
quiet.
supposed to talk though? Like that's my true. Mouth is stuck in this permanent like dumbass grin. Like I can't move this. Like, it doesn't work.
But anyways, thanks so much, guys, to the patrons. Again, you guys are the best. And if you guys, again, do enjoy the show, go to patreon.com/Valuetown and consider, making a pledge to us. That'd be awesome. Also, I want to give a shout out just to all the folks that listen to us on iTunes and, have left great reviews in the past. We actually didn't have any this week, which is unfortunate, but, it's going to happen from time to time. But if you do listen to us on iTunes, think about doing that, because that really helps people find Valleytown when they're searching for Hearthstone podcasts. So it's a good way to help that, even if you don't have the money to pledge to the Patreon or anything like that. Okay, so let's go to Mekkatorque's workshop. We've had lots of patrons and viewers send us. I think I have like 30 cards over the last 2 or 3 weeks. And so we're just covering about 10 of them, and they might not be dated. Some of these might be like a few weeks old. So those of you that are going to have their cards shown,
bear with us. We've had a lot of backlog on the Mekkatorques, because last week we got like emergency content that just came up, and we had so much to cover. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah, it definitely was crazy. But okay, the first one is from Victor W. And for those of you that don't know what Mekkatorque Workshop is, it's kind of pretty much our custom card segment, where we have actually sometimes we bring cards, but we have a lot of the patrons and viewers suggest some cards to us. May suggest some cards to Blizzard actually specifically, and we just kind of take a look at them. So the first one we have here is Cowardly Adventurer, 1 mana, 2/3, Enrage, can't attack. So,
priest card.
Yeah, it's a priest card. Yeah. Kind of interesting, right? Like, we've had basically if it's damaged, you just can't do anything. I'd actually like to see it at like a 2/4.
I'll go as far as say that this card is, I think as a 2/4 it would be playable. As a 2/3 it seems like it's kind of hard to justify, but it's like a Zombie Chow without a drawback. Maybe it's fine. It's just like Zombie Chow was never a drawback in Priest anyway.
No,
so.
It was never no, definitely.
Yeah, so the priests really need a bad zombie chow. Well, I say bad, but it's like a sometimes better zombie chow. I don't know. It's hard to say. Like the upkeep on this guy is so high. It's really hard to think of him as a one drop because he costs you at least 3 to use twice. Which, if you put it that way, suddenly, it's a really costly card.
Yeah, it doesn't seem as good, right? Dr. J, what do you think?
I like the idea of it. I think it's pretty cool. Like, I think most enrages are just gain attack. If I remember correctly, I don't think there's too many enrages that actually have a different effect. So the fact that we're attaching enrage into another effect, like a kind of like an Ancient Watcher effect, is like really cool. But Noxious is right. This mana cost for what it is, because you have to play it. You then have to kill something. You then have to hero power it, and then so it just gets to be redundant. So maybe as a 2/4, it'd be playable, like Noxious said.
Yeah.
But I think Cowardly Adventure needs to participate in some Smilestones, looking kind of bad over there.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, definitely.
I don't know how I feel about this
though.
guy. It's like as an enraged card, it doesn't fit priest much, but I'd like to see a rework of this, maybe for some other clash or something. I like the concept.
Yeah. Okay. Next up, we've got a 9-drop, and this is from Lee C. Unstable Zealot. It's a legendary 9-drop, 6/6. It's a tri-class card. Like a warlock, priest, and mage card. And adjacent minions cannot trigger enemy secrets on your turn. So it's kind of a little bit of a positional card, but
it's like a bad flare.
Yeah, it's like a
it's like a really bad flare.
Yeah, I mean, I think this card's too expensive. I think if it was cheaper, it could be interesting. It could be like you said, just something very, very good against freeze mages and hunters. But 9-drop, I don't know. Maybe it's properly statted, given how powerful.
No, man. Like, you got a 4-mana 2/4 that eats secrets. Like, there's no way this is properly statted. This should be like at most a 6-mana 6/6, right? Like,
it's also the fact that like when this comes down in the game, like secrets are already going to be like irrelevant because, for instance, the only classes that have secrets are like Paladin, Hunter, and Mage, and they're all 2-mana, 3-mana. So it'd be the most useful against Mage. By the time this comes down against Hunter, you're either dead to the hero power or the secret's already been fought. So I love the idea of this card. I think it's so cool. I think counterplay is cool. I think adding this card because it's like the 3-mana 4/3 Silence a Demon that doesn't see much play. Like, it's a cool thought. It's a cool concept. It's just like the stats in this card are just not worth it. And then that 9 mana right there just makes it literally unplayable.
I'll ask you a question though. Would you play like an Eater of Secrets as a 4-mana 4/4, like by default as a 1-of in every deck? Because like I'm thinking about the card and I'm like 4-mana 2/4 seems like a terrible deal, right?
Not right now.
Even when it works, right? Even when it works, it's still kind of bad because it doesn't do very much. But like, would you feel like you're getting less punished for teching in the Eater of Secrets to the point of including it if it were a 4/4?
I think you get less punished for it being a 4/4, like obviously increasing stats.
I mean, obviously it would be less punishing, but like, would you start running it more, or would it not matter at all?
I remember when Keys on Mystic was like a playable card in Standard, that like people were putting in a lot of things. Like they were putting in mostly like Druid, the Reno lock / hand lock, and some other decks just to try and like beat out the Freeze Mage matchup because it was really good against Freeze Mage. I think it all depends on the popularity of a specific deck on top of what it specifically does. For instance, I think Keys on Mystic would, if it was since it's a 4/3, and I think it would. Yeah. But I don't necessarily think Eater of Secrets would, because Keys on Mystic swings the game. Eater of Secrets just gets rid of it, which I think is a big difference in discrepancy.
Yeah. The thing I like about this card though, is that those cards that you mentioned are some of those cards that you just play it. You just play it and just awesome things happen. This card actually is situational, and that's why I think that this card should be, made more powerful in a way too. But the fact is like you have to have some kind of tempo, and you only benefit if you actually do have tempo in a way. But you're able to finish games. So it generally makes a card weaker being that kind of situational, and that's generally people don't play those type of cards. But I do like that element of it that adds, some type of preparation for a powerful effect like that. Because you could say it's too powerful. If it was cheaper, let's just say it was like a 5-dropper.
No, wouldn't be.
No.
Yeah, probably not.
This card is extremely situational.
Yeah.
This card is this is as situational as it gets.
Yeah, exactly. So generally, it's not probably not going to be strong, or at least the consistency of it is why it won't be strong. Okay, well let's Immortal Lions has like a bunch of cards he like sent me, so we're just gonna talk about 4 of them that are kind of similar. Which what we have here. Sorry, I just have to bring this up a little bit. We've got 3 off the bat, and then I'll bring up the next one too. Actually, these 3 are similar, and then there's one that's a little bit different. So these all have heal theme. They're like all heal themed, and I figured I would just bring them up together since one's a rogue card, one's a mage card, and one's a warlock card. The first one's a rogue card, 4 mana, 2/6. It's 2 attack, 6 health. It's a rare card, Everlasting Rogue. Battlecry: destroy your own weapon, restore 4 health to your hero for each durability loss. And I kind of liked this. I don't know. I kind of like the fact that you
like the theme of it.
The theme for sure doesn't make sense. Like, how the hell am I going to heal by like stabbing myself with my dagger? I mean,
it's like wielding dagger, self-stabbing rogue. It should be the name. Like, it's just a really weird name.
Thematically, I agree, but I kind of like it. Gameplay, I kind of like that.
Losing durability for health is just horrible because you're spending mana for health. So like by proxy, what you're doing is you're spending 2 mana for your hero power, and then you're spending 4 mana to get a card that lets you convert that 2 mana into heal, which basically means you're paying 2 mana for 8 health, but you're also losing your dagger, which is instrumental for you cleaning up the board. So like this card actually doesn't make any sense. If it just went off your durability to heal you, I'd be like, I'm down with that. Like leeching poison, like he puts a leeching poison on your guy, I'm cool with it. But if it actually consumes the weapon, suddenly I think it's a much worse card.
Yeah, you also have to think about this card in context of like what will happen during the game. So for instance, you'll go turn 1, let's say Rogue just passes, then you go hero power, and you're going to be using your hero against, like, for instance, like an aggro deck, you're going to be using your hero power to clean up minions. So by the time this card comes down, you don't have your weapon, or at least your initial dagger up. So it just becomes a 4 mana 2/6. Same thing with Hozon Healer. Like it just will be a 4 mana 2/6. I mean, if Rogue had printed like a 2 mana or 1 mana weapon that was power, like that had synergy with this card, it would be a lot better. But you have to think in context of how the game's going to play out. This card probably wouldn't even be relevant until like turn 6, and in that case, it's like an Inspire effect.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, the next one's a 5 mana 3/6 mage card, Sorcerer of Rejuvenation, restore 4 health to your hero for each secret played this game.
I like that one. I'll be honest, I think this one is fantastic. I actually think this one is amazing.
That sounds like basically Reno, like late game Reno. Not
it's going to be 8 health, I think. I think on average it's 8 health.
Probably.
At most.
The only thing I will say is I wish it said armor instead of health.
Yeah.
Because the mage is like typically armor. But other than that, I enjoy the theme of this card because it promotes playing secrets. It's like the Cabal Crystal Run or whatever. It promotes playing different, but it also is cool. Like I like this card. It's interesting.
Yeah, I definitely think so too. Just promoting the secret mage. That's definitely something they're trying to do too. So maybe we'll see something like that soon. And then the last one's a 7 mana 6/6 warlock card, Servant of the Betrayer, epic. Battlecry: if you are below 15 health, double your health total.
That's broken. 14 is commonly attained.
Really good.
It's like too often are you at 14 or 12 health in that class. I mean, the question is like, is this better than Abyssal Enforcer? That's the question we have to figure out because it says below, so it doesn't work against Alex and everything.
I don't think it is actually.
Yeah,
I think it's close. It's really close between those two. This is more situational. I think Abyssal Enforcer generally is solid. Like the ability is very consistent outside of when you have board control, right? I don't know. What do you think, Dr. J? You think this is? I mean, you think this is a good card?
Interesting card.
Yeah, better than Abyssal.
I'm indifferent on it. I'm indifferent on it because, for instance, I think the wording's a little weird. Because when I first read it, I was like, does it mean increase your health total from because your health total I would assume would be, because your total health you can achieve in Hearthstone is 30. So I didn't know if it meant. I'm assuming that it means if you have 14 health, you go up to 28.
Yes.
And so with that context, this card is either extremely powerful or literally does nothing. Because if you're at 3 health and you go up to 6 health, it's like you played a 7 mana Earthen Ring Farseer, and if you're at 14 health and you go 28, you basically played Reno again. So I think it's indifferent. I don't know if it's super powerful. It's definitely interesting because it could lead to like, for instance, like when people played around Molten Giant, they would put you at a certain range and then try and kill you after that. This card would definitely introduce that kind of counterplay where they would put you at either if you are below 15 health. Okay, so you have to be below. I don't know if being on 15
it is
counts.
a little odd now that you talk about it, because generally you want to maximize the amount that you're healing, and that usually means some type of play on your part to allow for that. But with this, it's not. It's like, like I'm trying to think of like the scenario where you would even get to 14. Like your opponent has to put you to 14. Like
your opponent kind of dictates 14. The power of this card.
Yeah. So your opponent's just going to damage you as much as possible. Kind of like, Lightwell style or something like, not Lightwell style, but Lightspawn style. You know what I mean? It's just like they just hurt you, and then the benefits from this is not going to be as much. It's just not great. So, so it's interesting. I think it's an interesting way to do heal, and that's kind of why I kind of chose it. But yeah, I don't know if it's better than Abyssal Enforcer though. Okay, the next one we have is a priest card, and this is again Immortal Lions, one from him. It's Archbishop Benedictus. It's a legend, 5/5. It's definitely about 5 mana 5/5s for priest, man.
I like it, bro. I like that one.
And then Battlecry, the new maximum health total for hero is 45. Hell yeah, dude! This is I've been waiting for a card to up a maximum health total.
So can I just say that this is probably a bad card, but I like it. Like I'll put it that way. An Areno deck and Wild is gonna get fun. And this is the type of card that I want to play with, but like I wish it were cheaper just so I could guarantee to be, start healing myself early rather than go up in health. Because it's not as though it lets me set my health at 45. It just says my new max health is 45. So then I have to flash heal myself back up or Justicar myself back up. It's really not that great, I don't think. It's only going to be good against like Control Warrior mirror match, where like Control deck mirror matches, where suddenly you're out of combo range and you're also out of fatigue range for the most part.
So I'm wondering, what if it actually read not Battlecry, but at the start of your game, your new maximum health total is 45, but you're still at 30.
I'm down with that, like a Prince Malchazar effect. It's in your deck and it just comes out.
Yeah,
but you don't automatically start at 45. You start at 30, but you can heal up to 45.
Yeah.
I'm down with that.
That'd be great.
It's like an aura, basically. Yeah, I mean,
I definitely like the art on this card.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I agree with you too. Justicar's going away too, right?
Yep.
That's going to make it hard to get to 45. But the general concept of upping the health total for especially something like Priest, I think is just a good concept. Something to actually play with, and it would change the meta so much. Like it would change the matchups and how some of the cards are powered too. And what even just the finishing move is for against Priest, right? Like I don't know. I feel like it just adds depth that we could need, because 30 health I still feel like is a limiting factor that they like, because it's it's that whole mobile game thing. But at the same time, why not just create some rare instances where you can up it, and where it actually plays a role, and you're taking a risk by playing this card too. Because, like you said, this card's not the greatest card. So
it's gonna be a 5 and a 5/5 eventually, which again you're not excited about.
Yeah,
I think for the most part. So
okay, yeah. All right, last ones are from a patron, Greg W, and I figured we would just add some fun to this, which is a bunch of meme cards here, but they're pretty funny though, man.
They're horrible, dude.
Come
so
on.
Bad. All right, let's go.
All right, so we got the first one, and these are all like pictures of Trump or something, by the way. So we got a 5 mana 1/6, the thin-skinned politician. When your opponent emotes Enraged for +6 attack.
I'd play this card.
That's awesome, dude.
5 mana 1/6, thin-skinned politician. It's Trump's face screaming at the top of his lungs when your opponent emotes enraged for +6 attack. So very, very good card.
That's a very.
I would play it.
I would play it too.
I would get the emote train going on early, so when they get to me, they've emoted a lot, and I'm gonna drop, and they're like, "Oh crap! What did I just do?" Like, greetings.
It would have to be one of those cards where, like, it's like a mystery card you put on the board. Like, there's some.
They don't know what it is.
Yeah, Shroud, and they're like, "Wow, oh, 7/6 boy." That would be
if someone played
Emote
against
Shadow or Death.
I would just keep emoting.
Oh God.
I want to see how. No, if you emote enough, does it technically die because the game's capped?
Yeah. If you're good enough, you can actually get it out of the board for free.
Exactly. Adds counterplay.
Stop emoting. I can't even play this. I can't even attack you. God, stop it. It's freaking Nozdormu and then just start emoting nonstop. Oh, God. Okay, the next one is a 6 mana build a wall. Summon 5/5 walls with taunt until your board is full. Your opponent's mana pays for the wall.
Card is awesome.
Oh my God. All right. The next one is a 4 mana increase to security. When your opponent summons a minion, it waits 2 turns for extra. I don't know, like with the extra security screening. Maybe it waits 2 turns before it's being played. I think that would be pretty funny. And then the last one, it's a picture of the inauguration. 2 mana, largest crowd ever. 2/3. If you have 10 or more people spectating, gain +10/+10.
That's actually a really fucking awesome concept,
isn't it?
I would just like to point out that I would tavern brawl the
cool.
shit out of cards like these. If Blizzard were to make I don't know if you guys saw the early cards that were created in the very early days. There was a card that said whenever you emote, you take damage. Whenever you hover over it, you take damage. Your screen is flipped upside down. Like all these cards were removed in the alpha. Because of course, Hearthstone wouldn't be balanced with those cards, but they could do a tavern brawl with stuff like this, where if you get a bunch of friends in, you get like a 12-3, like a 12-15 on the board on turn 2, and the guy's like, "Well, I guess I'm done." So the meta becomes like this clunky thing where people have like their
like Hunger Games.
Everybody get in here.
Yeah,
everybody
so get in here.
It's gonna be awkward when you've got like 10 people viewing you, and you're like, "All right, I'm gonna play this card, guys," and the guy's like, "All right, be right back." And
they just leave.
And you play a 2/3. He comes back and like, "What did I miss?"
No, that would be pretty funny. Oh man, but getting back to the thin skin politician, it'd be pretty funny if you could affect each other's emotes were affecting one card. So like you guys would just have emote.
Are you spamming emotes?
Yeah, like attack before he emotes, and then like I get it in there before
counterplay, man.
Oh my God, that'd be so.
The thing is, the guy who's attacking has a harder time because he's got to emote and click, right? So he's got like click and drag. So he's technically got a window of opportunity where the opponent can like counter emote to the attack of the
counter emote.
Mechanics, man. Hearthstone mechanics, baby. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyways, I thought we'd have a little bit of fun with just some cards from the Patreon. Thanks so much, Greg W, for those, and as well as Victor W, Lisi, and Immortal Lion. But why don't we move on to the Q&A here? We've got one question actually from Doom1491, and if you guys want to send in your question for next week, go ahead and do that by emailing valuetown@chanmanv.tv, and we'll try to read out the emails next week. So Doom1491 thinks he has a solution to Jade mechanics not being so oppressive. He suggests if you summon a Jade Golem, he should get attack and defense of the number of Jade Golems died before +1. So if you go turn 4 Spirit Jade into a 1/1, if you go turn 4 Jade Spirit into a 1/1 Jade Golem, your opponent doesn't destroy them. You can't trade. Not sure.
So what he means is if you play Jade Golems, they're only going to get buffed if the previous Jade Golems have died. So you can't go for like an insane Jade Golem spam that are going to go like 6/6, 7/7.
Yeah, I know.
The thing is, like a board full of 6/6s is just as bad as the rest. So in my mind, like leaving 1/1s up so you don't see a 2/2 is probably the easiest way to die. It's like saying let's not kill patches because a 2/2 patches might come out. It's like, no, dude. Like, I'm not touching that guy. Like, you have to kill the damage that comes in as it does. And I think what also makes this suggestion, although probably, interesting balance-wise to test, unacceptable for Hearthstone, is just, it's too complicated. Unless every single Jade Golem reads Death Rattle, give your Jade Golems +1/+1. And then it becomes like a Death Rattle mechanic, in which case, does it really, is that what you're looking to make out of this card? Out of the mechanic. I don't know.
I know what you mean. Yeah. It would make things better. No question it would, because then
sure,
the value trade, I mean, they'd obviously be taking an inefficient value trade many times with the existing Jade Golem on the board. But yeah, I know what you mean though. It's a little bit complicated, just even explaining this, or even just trying to figure out how this works, I think took a second there. And that generally doesn't pass the Blizzard litmus test, right? But it's an interesting concept though. I do think that something like that will either need to be done to Jade if they don't make counter Jade cards, just to alleviate just the +1/+1 and how easy it is just to scale up. What do you think about this, Dr. J?
Yeah, I don't really fixes. I don't think it fixes really that much. I don't think it fixes really anything. I'm almost wondering if it's like, I know the Jade mechanic obviously can get out of hand, but like, would the Jade mechanic be as bad if we had a bunch of Jade Spirit-ish cards? Like, because for instance, I'm looking at the Jade cards right now. Like, Aya Blackclaw is insane. Jade Lightning's insane. Jade Claws is insane. I wonder if the Jade mechanic would be as bad if like the Jade card, like they just weren't like attached to such powerful cards.
They're slow.
Yeah. Like for instance, like I think Jade Spirit's a prime example of like, I think like I even cut it from Jade Shaman at one point because I was like, this card's just it doesn't fit the cut. So if like all the Jade cards were like that, like I think they'd still be played and maybe powerful in specific decks like Jade Druid, but they may not necessarily be oppressive in like all the Jade cards. I think the Rogue ones are good examples.
I think the Rogue is like my favorite Jade deck, because in order to make the Jade mechanic in that deck get out of hand, they have to go through so many hoops. They have to like play Unearthed Raptor on their Jade Swarmer. They have to play Shadowcaster on Jank just to bring it back. Like, they have to do crazy shit and then finish it up with the N'Zoth. And that's awesome. But when your Jade mechanic just self-builds, because that's really what Druid and Shaman have, really. It's like Druid more so than Shaman even. Like, I'd say Druid is the least complex Jade deck to build. Shaman is next up, and Jade is the most complicated. But it turns out that Jade is such a good mechanic when it's, linear, that, going for the complexity of deck building isn't really a good option.
Yeah.
You might as well just stick to the basics and play them on curve as they come. Hence why Shaman has a better chance than Rogue at getting the mechanic to work. But I love the Jade Rogue. I just love when it works together. Like it feels like it's a deck building puzzle to make work, and it's great. I actually think that deck is fantastic.
Yeah, I think so too. I if you're going to have something that just scales out of control, make it require some skill. Make it require some sacrifices and problem solving to be able to reach it, because that Rogue deck is fun and cool, but it's not very consistent, so you have to figure out a way. You have to figure out a way to make it more consistent, and that's the challenge, and that's how it should be for a reward so high as the Jade, in my opinion. So yeah, anyways, thanks for that email, Doom. I think that's going to be it, guys, for the questions. We don't have any more questions. Oh, I did skip one thing, which was a community. We had a community post in Reddit that was quite good, that lists out all the are just a bunch of free-to-play decks for new players, and kind of like mapping out the cost of the dust. And I thought it was really good. I figured I'd just bring it up. It was posted by John314159. I'll post it here in Twitch chat, and it's on the show notes too. So for all of you that want to know some of the links that we talk about on the show, you can always find the show note links on ChanManV.tv, or if you're a patron, obviously the patron posts have them on there too. You can always find that. Okay. I was just looking at the Twitch chat. I never look at Twitch chat. This is why I don't look at Twitch chat, because it totally distracts me. But
I see Raven's question right there.
Exactly. Dr. J, or Dr. Jikininki. So I can say it. Thanks for being on the show, man. So it's great having you on, and I think getting your opinions and hearing your story at HCT, I think, was amazing today.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on. This is a great opportunity. I really enjoyed it. Thank you all again. This is awesome. And if I had me on, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you have any shout outs you want to do? Where can people find you?
They can find me at on Twitter at Dr. Jikininki, JIKININKI.
It's on there.
It's not that bad.
It's overlaid, guys.
Yeah, exactly. It's like right there or something. And then I will be streaming more consistently now at twitch.tv/Dr. Jikininki. So
nice.
That's about it. That's where you can find me. Shout outs. I think I really want to shout out one person in particular. I won't do too many shout outs, but the one person in particular is Toby. I think he contacted you, ChanManV, to try and get me on.
Oh yeah.
So exactly. I really appreciate it to him for getting me on. It means a lot to me for me to have this experience to do it. And then just some local friends and stuff. So thank y'all.
No, Toby, and just to give you a little backstory on that, I was doing one of my shows. Yeah, I was doing the overview, and it was like the post show, the overview, and I was trying to figure out who to have on for the Value Town. And last week I tried to have Pavel, but Pavel just is impossible to get a hold of. So I just kind of thinking this week it's like it didn't dawn on me to ask to see if you would be on, just because I don't actually know you personally. And then he like brought it up, and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, why don't we do that? And then I he was able to get in touch with you, and I think I messaged you too at the same time on Twitch.
Yeah.
And then he was able to get in touch with you first, and that's why we're here, and that's like awesome. So yeah, big shout out to him too, for me. Noxious, shout outs.
I shout out to Complexity as usual. My guys in Complexity are just pretty awesome still. And
still,
yep, nothing changed since last time I did shout outs. If you want to find me, I'm on YouTube, Noxious GLHF, and Twitch, Noxious_HS. These days, though, I'll be honest, in terms of streaming, I've been doing more For Honor than Hearthstone, since the game has it has like, it's actually, I will say that before I'm done with my shout outs. I'll parasite this end of show to say that game is the first game in a long time that has made me want to improve so much so that I just don't want to let it, put it down. And this is something that I think you don't get with every game. And when it comes up, you just need to binge on it. And that's what I've been doing.
What are you saying, Noxious? What are you saying?
Why don't you just give me bigger numbers and Primal Ancients drops in like Diablo 3?
Oh my gosh. No, For Honor, I know a lot of people. I've been meaning to give it a try, but I haven't quite gotten there. That's $60. That's $60 is still like waiting. I gotta be really motivated to play it. Like I can't just play it for an hour. Like
I play like 8 hours to 12 hours a day, dude. It's ridiculous. I can't put it down. It's literally a full-time job.
No, that's crazy. That's great.
I just like I play one character out of 12 for like 8 to 12 hours a day just to get it. It's so good.
Oh man, that sounds crazy. But yeah, I gotta check it out definitely soon. For me, I'll give a shout out to two of you guys, Dr. J and Noxious, for doing the show, of course, with me. Raven, answer your question along a lot more levels. Okay, that's how you fix ladder right now. At least the whole rank 20 thing.
Shadowverse go.
Exactly. I've summed it up for you. Just because you don't have to watch the beginning of this pod now. Big shout out to all you guys for watching, of course. I know a lot, like Trinity's always going on, so like really appreciative with Trinity going on, you guys that like watch us. So just a few more weeks of that, and hopefully we won't be overlapping with the biggest event in Hearthstone. I'm just like crazy doing that. Also, you can watch the VODs on youtube.com/ChanManV, as well as all the other VODs of the shows that we've done in the past. We've done some awesome ones recently too, guys, so definitely go and check that out. iTunes will be available for those of you that like to listen to podcasts. You can find us there. Search for Hearthstone. Leave us good reviews if you like it, as well as Google Podcasts, as well as SoundCloud too. I think a lot of people don't realize we're in SoundCloud because we don't get that many people listening there, but we're there too. You can see all the show posts with the show notes, like again on ChanManV.tv, so check that out, and follow the show Twitter at ValueTownGG. And I feel like I'm forgetting one more thing. Oh, we're doing actually a Streamer Showdown Overwatch edition. if you're into Overwatch, yeah. So we're going to be doing that on Friday if you're into Overwatch. So definitely check that out. And then Hearthstone will be back around, hopefully with some very special guests working on that right now. So let you know really, really soon. And then that's going to be it, guys, for Value Town. So for Dr. Jikininki, right? Jikininki, Noxious, and myself. I'm so bad at that. And myself, ChanManV. We'll see you next week, guys.
Later.
See ya.